Hermes draw near, and to my prayer incline, in arts gymnastic and in fraud divine.
Dire weapon of the tongue which men revere, be present, Hermes, and thyself plant here.
Welcome to Third Eye Bind, episode 39, Spellcrafting.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Laura.
And I'm Caitlin. And welcome to Third Eye Bind.
I'm Caitlin.
I am Laura. We were trying to be cute and funny.
You should really watch the podcast. If you're a listener, thank you. But also become a viewer.
That was Caitlin talking. In case you couldn't tell our voices apart.
Plus, like, Laura's got this, like, shimmery, like, ethereal situation going on, and you're really missing out if you're not actually seeing it. It's a good thing.
A fairy orgasmed on my face on the way in.
Poof.
Some people sneeze like that. You have little sneezes.
I do have little sneezes. I'm like...
They're like, roar.
I had a teacher tell me that I sneezed like Minnie Mouse once. I was like, oh, thank you.
Sneeze like anything other than how I do. But that's not what we're talking about. But
No.
even before that, if you like
welcome
us,
to Third Eye Bind.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
If you like us, if you would like to support us, you can share us with your friends, family, foes. I hate when people say that because then when on podcasts, when they're like, share it with an enemy, I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
No, don't do that.
But I digress. You get what I'm saying. You can pause this right now and rate us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube. Leave us a comment.
Leave us a comment. We love comments.
Yes. And if you really, really would like to support us even further than you already are, you can support us on Patreon. We have 3 wonderful tiers. Some stickers are involved. Some links to watch live shenanigans are involved. So you can check that out at patreon.com/thirdeyebind.
Yes, your support helps keep our independent podcast running.
Podcasting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about spellcasting.
Crafting or casting?
Oh,
Crafting.
shit. Crafting.
Did I say casting and you said
fucked
crafting?
up.
No, I like it.
I think I said casting and you said crafting.
Well, that's relevant.
But it is
because
spellcrafting. But it's all this.
They go hand in hand.
do.
And we will talk about that
Yes.
today because spells, rituals are, in my opinion, meant to be a creative situation for your magical.
I agree.
We did the same thing with our fingers.
We did.
That's the vibe. This is going to be the YouTube.
Magic.
Mike's
The
not looking,
screenshot
but
for
that's what
YouTube.
he's going to use, and he doesn't know it yet.
But before we start talking
we must
about...
have guidance.
We must have guidance.
From
the
cards.
The cards.
What? The obvious card for me would be the magician card. But I wonder what...
But it's never the obvious.
It's never at
That's
all.
it?
What?
That's it. Okay.
Oh. Any guesses? Anybody getting...
I'm
Watch,
like
it's
a
that
little bit
song.
like
I'm a little
nervous.
like, what?
Is that song in there?
No.
Oh.
But I don't know. What is it?
I think that's the first time I've sung Third Eye Blind on this show, which is funny.
Not to be confused with the world-renowned podcast, Third Eye Bind.
I pulled the 3 of Wands.
Wands. What do you do with wands?
I've pulled this card this season.
Really?
Yeah, on our queer magic episode.
Oh.
This is the 3 of Wands, and the song is the B-52s. Rum if you want
again?
to.
Okay, pause. We've been pulling the same cards a lot.
I know.
Do you have thoughts about what that
And I shuffled
means?
this deck. I think that when we find cards are repeating themselves in our lives, it's because we are being invited into the messages and the medicine of those cards, not only within the context that we are pulling them, but in our lives beyond the show as well. And I think it's just as much for us as it is for the people who are serendipitously listening.
Right.
Why am I getting emotional?
No, because it's
I feel
emotional.
like
The Two of Swords came up a lot, and I've seen it in multiple places since I forgot what episode. 2 episodes, I think,
episodes
this
ago.
season.
Yeah.
Or I feel
I
like
don't
it's
know.
happened twice.
We definitely pulled it during our plant episode.
We pulled it during and we pulled it during another episode.
Yeah.
Because you explain, I remember when you explain things to me, I remember, because I'm like a nice friend and observant, and I listen.
I'm like a really good friend.
Like a really good listener. Wow. Okay.
Contrary to what people think about Geminis. But I almost like don't want to say it on the show because I say it. Okay. I feel like for you and I personally, this show, and we've known this from the beginning when I first pulled cards for us when we were like in the ideation stage, but this show really is a vehicle for us to branch out beyond the things that you and I are able to do individually on our own.
Yeah.
I think that this podcast really is a portal for like opportunity and expansion for us. And this show has really taken us outside of our comfort zones. And now this has become kind of like a comfort zone too. And I almost wonder what's next then? You know, like this, stepping into this was our journey through the portal of the Three of Wands. So then like, what are they telling us is next? And I can dream and I can guess.
Yeah.
But what I'm really excited about is when we get to experience.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if some of these experiences are coming up soon.
Hopefully. And I
hope so.
I'm going to do a little interpretation from this
please.
card because I'm vibing with it.
Yeah.
For me, the idea that there's more to something, more to come, more to explore, more to create through the Three of Wands, that's how I feel personally about spellcrafting, about magic. It's a craft. A craft is personal, it's creative, and the output of creative energy and the freedom to give yourself permission to create your own spells and rituals and to go off book a little bit and to explore really resonates with me. And I think it makes sense for the Three of Wands.
Absolutely. And the wands are the suit of our inspiration, our passion, our connection to that like creative channel that is spirit or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And the Three of Wands is really like you said, our invitation to explore that energy beyond ourselves, not only within ourselves, but beyond ourselves, and to play.
And to see like things in the same things in a different way, which is getting a card pulled twice. Once for this was Queer Magic's card as well. And that also makes sense with creativity and what's new, what's happening, what next, what else.
Breaking beyond the boundaries that
Yes.
have been set for us or that we've set for ourselves over time.
Yes. That's, to me, when you're practicing true magic. And I can only go on and we can both only go on what we've experienced. And we have very different experiences. And I think this episode's going to be really, really interesting to just talk about how did we learn? How did we learn? What were we taught? And then what are we doing now? You know, so you go first.
Oh, okay.
What's like the first spell you ever remember doing consciously and realizing that it was a spell?
Consciously. So, I mean, I did lots of magic as a kid.
Or
of
unconsciously.
course,
Let's
right?
start there. What sort of magic did you do unconsciously as a youngster?
I did lots of like potion magic as a kid, you know, and lots of like creative, like imagination spells, that type of thing. But the first spell, for whatever reason, this is the one that keeps like blah coming to the front of my mind. And it's not the first spell I ever did, but it was the first spell that made me realize that I was powerful. This is really bad.
I laughed because mine's
is
really
bad.
Mine's really bad too.
Okay,
and
good.
I'll share it.
This is some Gemini shit. So I was in a toxic relationship. I was very much in love in a very toxic relationship. And I did not get along with my partner's best friend, my boyfriend's best friend, and his best friend's girlfriend. We just like did not, I can't remember what happened. We were all on drugs. So like, I'm sure we were all being assholes. I'm sure I was being an asshole. And I was just like fucking over it. And I wanted them to like stop meddling and like stop being around. And so I remember sitting on the balcony of his apartment while he was at work. And his roommate was gone. And I set up this altar on the balcony, and it was fucking dark and cloudy in Hollywood that night. And I lit a bunch of candles, and I cut out these paper poppets because it was all I had was paper and scissors, right? And a Sharpie. And I wrote the names of his friend and his friend's girlfriend on these poppets. And I can't remember the exact incantation, which is probably for the best. But I was reciting stuff over and over again. And then like, I think I like cut them and then burned them. And then a couple days later, I was at my friend's house and we were all doing Molly. And I was like, I need to do this thing twice. Like once is not going to be enough. I need to do this twice. And so I gathered my friends and we all sat around a circle and I did it again with them.
Ooh, back up.
Back up, right? And then we did not hear from his friend for like probably a year.
Yeah.
And I remember one night we were at a different friend's house drinking and partying and he like mentioned his friend and I was like, oh, have you heard from him lately? And he was like, no, it's been a really long time. And then he looked at me knowing and he was like, what did you do? And our other friend started laughing. And she was like, I always tell people that if I ever need something done, I've got Caitlin, like she's a witch.
Dang.
And I was like, he was like, I would never do that to you. And I was like, that's because you can't.
Yeah, no.
But that was naughty. But it made me realize like, oh, fuck. Like I can change the world around me.
Love that.
With magic and manipulate the people around me with magic.
Fuck.
It's fucked up.
Wow. Mine's pretty fucked up too.
Okay, let's hear it.
Well, it also involved a puppet situation, which is funny because, I mean, I guess growing up, you hear about voodoo dolls and then you learn about like doll magic or sympathetic magic and things like that. And it's you're a kid, so you like dolls. I don't know. I like American. I think I did some like fucked up shit with my American Girl dolls. I think they were alive in ways that my best friend and I would have like weddings for them.
Yeah.
And my Barbies used to have sex under the bed.
Oh my God.
That's how I explored my sexuality.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was sex magic with Barbie dolls. I don't know why I did this. I was in elementary school or junior high, and I did like essentially like a puppet magic with like the needles and the things.
Oh my God.
On one of my friends who was like at the time was not my friend or something.
Yeah.
And she got like acne and was like a lot of bad things
Like The Craft?
happened to her. It was very like a very PG version of The Craft.
Yeah.
But it was that kind of like femme on femme magic discord, like crazy shit. And it was like a lot of hormones and things. And that was like the naughty spell. And I was like, oh shit, this works. Like, and I think we all sort of need to have push our boundaries a little bit and explore like the darker aspects of magic and the whatever to like know that we're powerful sometimes. But
I think also like when you're doing magic to make your life better, I feel like the results aren't always as drastic or obvious.
No.
You know?
Or you don't notice it because it's your own life and you may have your own like narrative about whatever. But when you're like, I fucking hate you, you're going to watch for that shit. I've since done similar things. And sometimes you have to trust that those things are happening or that the magic was carried out because sometimes you have no way of knowing.
Yeah.
But I guess the first baby, unconscious thing that I ever did and felt like a tinge of like warm, fuzzy feelings, which is what I feel when there's like magic afoot. Especially as a kid, like learning about like the spirits of everything and feeling the world. We're like dandelions, like blowing a dandelion. Like when kids do that, I still do that. And it's one of the most powerful spells that I do is a simple, because look, the earth is giving you a little magic wand. And then just blowing it and seeing the physical like representation of your wish like floating into the air there's nothing more magical than that on this earth for me. Like really, like that was probably the first like thing I would like do and feel stuff. Yeah. Was it like your potions for you or
beautiful.
like what?
It really was potions for me. Like I would spend a lot of time in my dad's garden and he planted all of these beautiful flowers. My dad was really into landscaping. When we first moved into the neighborhood, the neighbors thought he was the gardener.
Wow.
Because of racism.
That's fucked up.
It's fucked up. But they're like, this brown man couldn't own a house.
Oh my God.
But he was an incredibly gifted, like, greenwich, TBH.
So was my dad, and that's weird.
He just made the most beautiful garden, and it was so enchanting. And I loved spending time there and like collecting water in different little plastic vessels and like adding rose to this for love and this for that, and like collecting little seeds and bits of dirt. And like, that's the first magic I remember doing.
I love that. My dad wouldn't let me touch his garden. I just remember him like, he'd be like, there's a gopher. And he'd go like decapitate the gopher with a shovel. And I'd be like,
we didn't have gophers in Monrovia.
My dad don't kill it. He'd be like, no, they're going to eat my shit. And I'm like, holy fucking crap. That really happened.
Emotional damage.
He would also do that to snails right in front of me because snails are bad for it.
My sister and I would pour salt on snails. Cry. That's fucked up.
I mean, look. Everyone's got... Bugs are the experimental creatures of
childhood.
Okay? Sometimes you protect them. Sometimes you torture them. It just depends on your mood. Luckily, there's a lot of them.
It's fine.
So, Dad did not like... I was a very sensitive child, and he didn't care. It's fine.
Oh,
but protecting your magic, Dad is... legit.
He was protecting his garden magic. Yes.
Aggressively. You're scaring your witchy child. It's weird. But yeah, spells sometimes are simple. These simple things we learned growing up. For me, they're what I go back to. The feelings that I learned from myself or from nature as a teacher are what I go back to, and what I go back to, like the moon teaching me. And when I mean teaching me, I mean literally teaching me. I'm not like kumbaya about this. Like I would communicate with the moon and I don't care how nutty that sounds. Like, yeah, lessons about connection and acceptance and change and like really nature is a wonderful teacher, and I, like I've mentioned many times, I just picked my nose randomly, it's fine. Like I've mentioned many times on this podcast, I didn't grow up with church or anything, so I had just free reign to explore, which has its benefits, and it's neither here nor there to me. It's just the way it was. But I definitely, for me, I think that's what I needed in this life.
I do think after you said that, like Catholic Church is a really great teacher when it comes to ritual.
Yeah, what was it like for you?
Lighting the candle. There's an opening, there's the action, there's a closing. We're lighting candles. We're passing around a cup of blood. Like there's literally like community cannibalism happening.
Transmutative,
well, it's called
symbolism.
Transubstantiation is the technical term of changing water, bread and wine into blood and body.
That's magical.
That's fucking magic, right? And like the ceremonial garb, the incense. Oh, when I was an altar server, it was my favorite to hold the incense thing because it swings and it makes the sound cling, cling.
That's
cling,
rad.
Cling. It was fucking cool.
And I never understood why, when I was a kid, I was like, because I didn't know the difference between Christianity and Catholicism or the church. I just knew that the weird youth group Foursquare shit freaked me out because they would bring snakes and tarantulas and they were scary. Mm-mm. And then when I'd go to like gospel church was great. I had some friends who were Black and they would take me to church with them. And I was like, this is fucking awesome and positive, and the music and all that. I really liked that.
And the movement and just like,
the vibe. Yes, please, all of that. And then I would go to I didn't have a lot of Catholic, oddly enough, my Portuguese family did not really go to church. They're probably all fucking witches. I don't know. They were a lot. But shockingly not Catholic. But I would see, that I'd be like, well, that's kind of cool.
It's witchy.
I was like, what is this? All the churches are so beautiful and the stained glass and all these things. And I'm like, I didn't understand the connection between those things when I was younger, but I definitely was more drawn to Catholicism, which tracks
aesthetically
fully for my lineage. So, and wine and all that shit. Yes.
Well, and even folk Catholicism is something that exists outside of the organization of the church. And really, folk Catholicism it's witchcraft. Yeah. It's witchcraft utilizing the elements that have been put into place by, mass. Mm-hmm. And so it makes sense that witchy folks are kind of drawn to that vibe. It's cool. Yeah. They really do all the things. Mm-hmm. It's very Empress energy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It really gives you a framework for what a spell is and what I love that you said beginning, middle, and end, because when I explain or spoiler alert, I'm writing a book about creativity and magic crafting and things like that. So when I think about this, I think about it as a story, beginning, middle, end, any ritual or spell. And sometimes it's just the one act, or it's the act of picking the dandelion or seeing the dandelion, or there's always some sort of way to fit that into a story, right? And then the end and whatever it is, there's always this 3-part movement to it, whatever it may be. And I like that. I like that you said that too.
It's a story.
It's a story.
Mm-hmm. When I'm teaching about spellcrafting, the first thing that I encourage my students to get clear on is intention.
Yeah.
What are you trying to accomplish? Why are you trying to accomplish that? What do you hope to receive back from this? And I think that when we get really clear on our intentions, it helps us to shape our spells, to craft our spells in ways that align with what our expectations are, with what our desires are. I love sympathetic magic, and I feel like symbolism is so strong, and it doesn't have to be elaborate. It can be so simple. And when we get clear on what we're trying to do, it helps us to pick the right symbols.
Yes.
To get the job done.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I like to even the way I've been waiting 4 seasons to fucking talk about this. I practice something I call spontaneous magic. Mm-hmm. So yes, that concept. And also I like to ask the practitioner, how are you feeling in this moment?
Yeah.
What is your intention? Also, what are you feeling? And are your emotional tools in place for that intention? Mm-hmm. If not, maybe we do this another time.
Yeah. Or how do you get yourself in the mood?
Or how do you get yourself in the mood? Mm-hmm. Because I think that by teaching people the spontaneity of like knowing their feelings. That's where the power comes from for me is yes, tools do have power, but they're not everything.
Yeah. Your imagination is really the only tool.
Your intent or your intention and your focus, really more than anything for me, it's focus and that's energy. Your focus is your energy. What you focus on will come to be, right? And so really asking yourself, like, am I there? And being honest, because I don't give a shit how full the moon is.
Yeah.
If you're not in the headspace to do that, don't force it.
Yeah.
Like anything else in life, like I don't believe in like forcing yourself to practice a ritual because someone else says you need to do it. Not to discourage like respecting cultural things, like it's different for everybody and like lineage and all that. But for me, that's like the Three of Wands, like what else is there? There are these tools and these things, but what other perspectives can you have to enhance your magic? Because it can get real boring to me. This is for people who are new to it and who have been doing it for a long time and are maybe a little bored and want to shake it up. And like what spontaneous magic does for me is keep me on my toes. And if you're a creative person, it keeps you like creating in the moment, even with tools. Like I do this exercise I've done for a while that I've created for myself called the 5 objects, where for me, magical inclination comes at random times. Sometimes it's not a set. That's very Geminian too, to just be like, I feel it now. I feel it now. And that's the way I can hone in on if I'm feeling powerful or like if I have the energy to do something. So let's say you're like, many a time that's when I'm in a natural setting. So say you're like at the beach or whatever. Stop. It's ritual time. If you feel it, grab 5 things near you, whether that's like some seaweed, a shell, a dead bird feather. I don't know, like whatever, a stick.
Yeah.
You know, and try or a multitude of sticks and create a ritual space for yourself somehow. Like drag the stick across the sand and make a circle. Like you can draw with the stick, which is your wand now, you know, like give these objects little personalities and meaning. And what are you going to do? Like, are you going to pop one of those like seaweed bubble you know what I'm talking about? Like, is that the climax of this ritual? Like, who knows? Like, there's like a bajillion is a word that's real. There's a lot of different ways to do things. And like, just in the moment, like that's so fun and like potent for me.
I think something you're touching on that I really love is that like, we almost always have exactly what we need around us. And a lot of the things that we see on like Witch Talk and social media is like this kind of candle, this kind of incense, this kind of glitter, this and this and this, stuff. And if you look around you, whether you're sitting in your bedroom or you're sitting at the beach, you can find 5 things that you need, that you already have.
It's very affordable. It's convenient.
Yeah.
And you're operating from your own institution.
Something that I teach my students is like, don't go buy stuff.
Yeah.
Like look around your space and what you already have, because not only is it more affordable and accessible, but also it challenges you creatively.
Yes, exactly.
You have to think outside of the box, the expectations that media and social media have placed upon you.
Especially nowadays.
Especially nowadays.
It's
and
all
chances
about
are,
aesthetic.
you've already got your stuff. You've got exactly what you need.
Yes.
And I even like made a little like chart for how to like, this is for this. Like if I don't have that, do I have this? And like my students have really enjoyed that. But I think that other ways, like getting creative with the stuff that you're finding, like whether it's objects outside of yourself, also like look in your closet.
Yeah.
Are there any clothes that fit the vibe? Like, are there any clothes that enhance the energy of what you're trying to do? If you're trying to do some, like success magic? Do you have
Like
anything
today, right
yellow
now,
or
why did I
gold?
pick this to wear for this episode? Why am I glittery?
Yeah.
Because it makes me feel magical. And we're talking about spellcrafting.
Exactly.
And white is like
the color I wear when I practice magic and spirituality. So
your choices are subtle intentions.
yes.
And that's magical.
Your clothing, the way you adorn yourself. It could be the nail polish you choose.
Why did I pick it? It's like, why do I do that's creativity.
Exactly. And all of that goes into your spell, goes into your magic. It could be a playlist from Spotify on your phone or your computer. That is one of those 5 elements that you draw in for your spell crafting.
Yeah, absolutely. Or your whatever your I almost said your like iPod Nano or something.
Your iPod Nano.
Like
Click,
shuffle
click,
your
click, click.
playlist. If you're on the beach, you could shuffle it or like pick a song. And I love that so much.
Or even like go through your linens. Like, do you have any sheets? That match the color, or like scraps of fabric that match the vibe of what you're trying to accomplish. There's so many things already around us.
Yeah.
And what you don't have, you can imagine.
Yes. You can just imagine. You don't need anything.
Yes.
You don't need anything.
I think that's such a fun exercise to like sit, close your eyes, and like do an entire spell or ritual in your head.
Yeah.
Like watching yourself doing it like a movie in your head, because it's fucking real.
It is real.
It's real.
If you feel it, if you're vibing, you're being creative.
Yes.
And you're not, if you're burnt out.
You're burnt out.
And you can't move, or or if you're disabled.
Yeah.
Your altar space, maybe you don't like fire. I don't know. If you don't like candle, whatever.
Yeah.
If you have small children and you can't light a real candle.
I have a client who's got a serious phobia around fire.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I have friends who aren't allowed to light candles because of it says so on their lease.
Right. Like,
so like just do it in your brain, do it in your mind's eye, draw a picture of yourself doing it. And like that is the spell.
That is the spell. Like these limitations are not really limitations if you reframe your mindset around what your magic really, really is. And I am so fucking passionate about, I really want everybody out there, like every witch, if I had one wish for the witch world,
if I had one wish,
it would be that people would be able to sit and exist in like this deep comfort of their spirit, like of like their magic. So their magic to be like a comfort to them and not something that they're trying to grasp and trying to replicate with all the things and the pyrite and the tchotchkes and like that's not what it is. Like it like can
a weighted
be, but
blanket.
It's just when it comes down to it, it's like a weighted blanket of existence that I feel deeply throughout my life. And whether you have like spiritual lineage or not, that's there.
Yes.
And whatever's on top of
because it's nature.
Yeah. And whatever's on top of it is extra, like a sundae, like a banana split has to have bananas. And anything else is
bonus.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Or ice cream. That's a bad example because I think a banana split has to have like ice cream.
Ice cream and bananas.
So anything
that goes on top of that is a bonus.
Else, it's still a banana split. It just looks different.
Yeah. And we all like different toppings.
Yeah.
Not everybody likes maraschino cherries.
Let's talk about pizza.
Pizza.
It's a round thing with sauce on cheese. It's a pizza.
Yeah.
What kind of toppings are you going to put on it today?
Yeah. What are you feeling?
Do you always get pepperoni like me? Or do you want to get something different?
Do you want to be that person who gets the like pineapple and ham?
And that is why creativity and trickster and hunger are intertwined.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why what we crave, and it just goes into everything. Creativity is like hunger. It like comes out of a necessity to like create.
To see something exist that you don't
exist,
already have.
To scratch an itch.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah. That's full circle.
Dang. If you haven't listened to our Trickster episode, I think it's season 2.
Yeah, it's really good.
You should go back and listen.
It's a foundational
really good.
episode.
It really is a foundational episode.
We should star like the foundational episodes.
Make a little. Okay, yeah. Let's make a
playlist. Like a little like these are the ones that explain
if you want
the
to know
broader
us,
strokes.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, what do you think? Like, what would you want for your students? Like, what? Like, is there one thing that you're just like, I wish everyone could feel this way because I know that this makes me feel so good?
I think that I want all of my students to know that they are capable of conjuring whatever it is they desire within whatever access to resource they have.
Yeah.
And I also think it's important to know that, like, sometimes big asks, big dreams require repetition. Mm-hmm. It's not always like, I did a spell and now it's done. I'm going to have what I want. You have to, some spells require you to do them again and then again and then again, especially if it's a big thing. And also, you have to take your yoga off the mat, as they say. Whatever you put into your magic, you need to make sure that you are making choices and making moves in your day-to-day life that align with those petitions.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're showing the universe, I don't actually want that.
Yeah. Or I'm not putting in because it's energy is effort. Like when we're putting our focus on something, yes, in the moment spontaneously we're igniting this spark and that is potent. Like harnessing the potency of the moment is very big for me.
Stoking the flames.
But you can do that. It's not like, okay, that one thing happened to align on this day and I'm done now. Like, no, maybe go back to the beach a few times if that's the thing that's calling to you. Or you can do it in different creative ways. It doesn't have to be the exact same thing, but maybe that time at the beach, I'm also big on like spontaneous incantations and like just I've been doing that forever since I was a kid, just like making the incantations and spells up in the moment.
Yeah.
100%. That's like, I've always done that. And it's real powerful because it's honest. And I think it's more powerful coming from you and not a spell book that somebody else wrote, which there's nothing wrong with, but also having the ability to rely on that is I think a next step in being a witch and trusting yourself and becoming like a badass.
Yeah. But also like, okay, if you, for example, this is the one that lots of people get tripped up on, like cord cutting spells.
Yeah.
If you cut the cord, but you don't block the person.
Right. The practical steps to take.
Or if you want a new job, but you're waiting for it to come to you after you do the spell, and you don't start sending out applications.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Doesn't matter where. Just send them out everywhere.
Yeah.
Because you never know, right? If you aren't taking the necessary steps or even the necessary risks after you cast the spell, like it's not going to happen.
It's not going to stick.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen.
It's rare that it would just happen. And that's what people criticize a lot about magic is like, oh, you're just going to like wave your magic wand and it's going to turn into a toad.
Yeah, it's not like bippity boppity. I wish
it was like that.
I wish, but okay, that's a good example though of like things that happen really quick are not sustainable.
No.
Right? Like the fairy godmother turns the pumpkin into a chariot.
A chariot. I like that. I said carriage, but I like the chariot much more.
But that spell expires at midnight.
Because,
because fast magic is not sustainable magic.
Like
and
fast fashion.
That doesn't mean there isn't a place for it. Exactly. It doesn't mean there isn't a place for it. Sometimes we need a quick fix. Like last episode, I talked about the shoe paper spell. And that is a quick fix. It will take care of the person who's bothering you immediately. but it doesn't get to the real root of the situation, which is where you're somewhere you don't want or need to be. And that requires long magic. I think that's something else to consider when we're putting together spells. Like sometimes fast magic is necessary to make the situation bearable or manageable, but we can't ignore the long magic that actually changes our life and changes our environment.
Yeah.
And like both things have their place and are necessary.
And some
usually.
things, like those steps you're talking about, like the practical steps, like whatever they may be, like create a new LinkedIn or whatever. Like that's magic too.
It is, yes.
Like that's in support of it. But magic is not just candles and glitter. It's energy. It's focus.
The way you live.
It's the way you exist and the way that you connect to things. And that's really, really, really important to understand when you're getting into witchcraft or magic and really seeing these like seemingly mundane acts and tasks and whatevers that are actually acts of magic. And what is, you have to think about like, what is magic? Get a little existential. Like what even is magic? And that's where life becomes really fun. And I think that's where you're like that comforty blanket feeling. It's down here for me. That's where that comes into play because everything's woven with it. And that's being a witch to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
There's so much magic in the mundane. And once we turn that on first, once we decide to believe it, it's hard to unsee it. And then suddenly you realize every single thing that you do can be a spell.
Or a hex.
Depending on what you need. But everything can be a spell, from feeding yourself to bathing yourself to going for a walk in your neighborhood. Like there's magic in everything.
That's a grounding spell. You know, like you can. That's so good.
I know. Magic is real.
It's so
And
good
it's all
and real.
around us.
This is a spell, what we're doing. We've talked about this before, but this is literally every time we do this, a ritual that, it makes me really happy to do this podcast because you're the only person that I practice magic with.
I know.
Like for real. You're well, that's not true. But you in a very, yes, regularly, yes.
Yeah.
Like there are maybe 3 people tops that I would do that with. And you're one of them. And it's a small pond in the Laura Trust train.
Literally.
Okay?
Yeah.
In the caboose of Laura's Trust. Okay. I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. But this is the thing we share together. And like the 3 of Wands, like what's been next for me, even with this, like not even like, hey, you know, bravo, like put us on TV.
Put us on TV.
Somebody buy the show. Everyone loves us.
Put us on TV.
But like, you know, Ancestry sponsor us. Like
the witches love us.
Beyond those things, what this show has done for me is to allow me to trust somebody else and to be openly like, I love Caitlin. I trust this person. And to like just have that's been incredible for me as a person. Like just to just have this whole little ritualistic space is just so cool. And
I was thinking about that this morning.
we're like
as I was
little,
getting ready.
like a little baby coven almost. Like I hate the C word, but I also don't.
Well, and we really like, this show is a ritual.
Yeah, we do.
From the
We should talk about what we do. Like the theme song, which is literally an incantation.
Yeah, it's the Orphic hymn to Mercury.
Right.
And then when we sit down,
we open with that. That's what you hear.
We light our candles.
We light our candles. We light an incense. We have some other tchotchkes. This thing always starts on its own, and it's freaking weird.
It is weird. We chat a little bit about whatever our topic is. And what's so interesting, and we touched upon it after filming our last episode, but we always end up embodying and filling the space with the energy of the episode theme. It's kind of fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like always, when we did the water episode, afterwards we both felt like we were swimming. We both felt like we were kind of underwater. And it's just, I don't know, it's fucking cool. And then when we're done, we like put out the candles, we decompress.
Take a minute, you know, we like whatever it is. And
We kind of ground
put them
ourselves
out.
again.
Yeah, we take a beat and then we leave the space and it sits here in Mike's office until we return
Until it's ready
again.
again. Yeah.
And it's sort of
like going to church.
like going to
Welcome to the church of
welcome to
Laura and Caitlin. We will be passing the tithing basket around.
the virtual tithing basket. Reminds me of Sister Act 2 when she's doing the
I love
get
Sister
up off
Act.
of that thing. It's you. And they're passing it to save the school.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love Sister Act. I used to want to be a nun.
I wanted to just be Lauryn Hill in Sister Act 2.
I wanted
to be in the class.
I wanted to sing and talk to Jesus.
Hey, I could see maybe doing that in like a cooler way.
Hang out with a bunch of ladies. Pray some novenas. It's really not that different from what I do now, except
Truly.
we
Except
did not
not.
take a vow of chastity.
But yes, imbuing ritualistic qualities in your life, in your podcast, in your business, your Instagram. I've been very like, oh, emoji spells. But to be fair, I have to get off my old fogey couch and realize that the internet's not going away. And, you know, sprinkling your emails with some magical little
I totally
things
use emoji
are-
spells.
yeah, like
But I'm also a Gemini, and I feel like my first language is emoji at this point.
Oh, yeah,
My
I mean,
preferred
yeah.
method of communication is emoji.
yeah, I don't like to get too into it. Just like
I'm just
thumbs
like,
up.
Thumbs up.
What's
Smiley
your
face.
What's your favorite emoji?
This one?
I think mine's the thumbs up.
I like the side-eye one. That's another one of my favorites.
I think I do the thumbs up a
I
lot.
fucking love all the emojis. Here's the thing.
Emojis
They're
are
all my
fun.
babies.
They're all God's children. I like the mirror. I mean, duh.
Love the mirror.
The mirror came and I was like, oh,
Let's see. Do you have your phone?
yeah.
Because it shows you which emojis
Oh,
you've used recently.
sweet. Let's do that.
So, okay. For me, it's the crying emoji.
How
Oh my
do
God,
you-
that's
how
so
do you
true.
tell?
So if you just open up like a message
Okay, my mom.
and then click the emoji button on your keyboard.
Like if I'm gonna message. Oh, I see. Recently
and then it
used.
shows you your recently used.
The wave, the croissant, the alien head, the plant. This one,
I love that one.
the frog face is
Yeah, I love the
definitely
frog.
top 3 for
That's
me.
very you.
Yeah, I just go, and you're like, what does it mean? I don't know.
But whenever Laura sends it to me, I know exactly
It
what
just
she means.
it means I like it, I approve, I am interested.
Mine is the cry face, number 1, which is absolutely true because I cry about everything. And I love that about me.
Yeah.
The rose.
The rose,
Because
yeah.
the red rose is like my brand. The ghost.
The ghost.
The praying hands.
I have the praying hands too.
Yeah.
I have the fork and the knife.
Oh, you have lots of food in yours.
Well, it's because of the magic morsels oracle deck, which is all
Right,
food.
that
the
makes
sushi.
sense.
Also, I'm hungry a lot.
I have like the red heart, the heart face emoji. But really, like, these emojis are spells.
So, for instance, if we were to make an emoji spell right now, based on how we feel, and our 5 objects are emojis, how would you arrange yours?
Ooh. I'm feeling lots of love right now. So I would do the fire heart, the fire, the red heart, the red exclamation heart.
Ooh.
How many was that?
So red.
4. And then the red rose. Like,
So
that's just my vibe.
there's a
right
theme
now.
and it's red.
It's red. The color's red. It's passion.
Let's see. I would go black heart, cloud, sparkle.
Ooh, I love the sparkle emoji.
And then I would go, what did I do? Black heart. I'm going to make it real.
Black
Cloud
heart.
sparkle.
Cloud sparkle.
And then I would go cloud black heart. So it would be like surrounded
Yes.
by
I
like
love
that. Look
I
at
love
that.
typing my emojis like
I'm gonna
that.
send it to my mom. She's gonna be like, "What?
What?
like so it's arranged, if you will."
I like that.
That was really the most fun I've ever had on the show.
That's like my favorite way to do emojis is like anchors and then bring them in.
Yeah.
Yes. A spell.
yeah.
Because then it's got the beginning, the middle, the
And
end.
the end, and it's nice, and I like even symmetrical things.
Me too.
Gemini, and there's two, and there's even.
But I don't like it too even.
No.
It has to be an odd number.
Yeah.
But the ends have to
Yes.
be mirrors of one another.
Yeah.
Love that shit.
So yeah, that's something I'm open to now and experimenting with, and that's fun.
We did that in person, like live,
Yeah.
on the spot.
That was a very good
Spontaneous
example.
magic.
How you sign signatures or emails, like, yeah, you don't have to like put a shit ton of emojis that might weird some people out or like be
Yeah.
unprofessional, but you can stick
On the bottom.
things.
Okay, on the bottom of my emails, I have a protection spell.
Yeah.
And it is, let's see if I can remember. Wake up.
Is
phone.
it like a symbol?
It's emojis.
That's great.
And it's,
You email a lot,
why is my,
right?
I email a lot. I send lots of emails.
And with your work too, I would imagine that would be.
Is it the one?
I'm like, you get 20% off today.
I'm always emailing. Oh, that's so weird. Gmail's
What?
not available. But I think if I remember correctly, it's like chili pepper, evil eye, swords,
Swords are in there. I remember.
evil eye,
There's like a
chili
rose.
pepper.
Oh, okay.
There might be a rose in it too.
I think your signature
but
has
those
a rose.
are my signature always has a
Yeah.
rose.
I get the emails like
because that's part of
every
like
day.
my
Yeah.
enchanting
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
And then
It
on
works.
the bottom, it's the chili peppers, the evil eye, and the crossed swords.
I love that. Emojis work.
Emoji spells. Beginning, middle, end. I love it.
I love that. Yes, I really feel like it's hard to trust your own power when we have so many things draining us and showing us and telling us what magic needs to look like and what witchcraft is and who witches are and all this shit. And I'm real sick of it. There's nothing wrong with, let's talk about spell books for a minute. There's nothing wrong with spell books. I personally am very bored with all the spell books I see because it's just a lot, not all, a lot of regurgitated information.
Well, when we think about who gets published,
And who gets published? A lot of white people.
a lot of white people.
Mostly white people. I wish I had the statistic. Juliet's gonna laugh. I think
Yeah.
it's like more than 80% of the publishing world is
Yeah.
white.
So it's
In
all
spirituality as well.
misappropriated, like you said, regurgitated.
From a white perspective.
Yeah. Boring.
And that's boring.
Snooze
And
fest.
I mean, even going back to what the only like, what I would call like influence or thing I had to grab onto as someone with anything was Wicca.
Yeah.
And Wiccan books in the 90s were
And, like,
big.
Teen
and that's,
Witch.
well, yes, literally that book. Like, those things were all that was available.
Yeah.
And so that's what people are going to. I'd be really interested to talk to a Wiccan person because
I don't think I know it.
I know a few people, but just to have a real convo about it. And because, yeah,
I'm
maybe or
curious.
not, I don't know. But it had it did influence my magic. And I
Yeah.
have to really like live with that.
Yeah.
And that's okay because what saved me, I believe, was my ability to have my little lessons from the moon, to have these other teachers that were not just books.
Your
And
discernment.
we're not other humans. Yes, my discernment's pretty strong, and whatever guides were intact or are intact are like really encouraging of that for me. And yeah, but nevertheless, like Catholic Church stuff, I'm sure it's like, yeah, it influenced you. That happened. are you like, yay, Catholic Church? No.
No.
It's like, that's how I feel about Wicca.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I
dabbled.
I learned what I liked and what I didn't. And I took what I wanted and left it. But its origins I didn't even know about until maybe 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And you start to unravel these threads, and there's sometimes things behind the curtain you're not going to like.
We've all got unlearning to do because we've all grown up in this version of the world. So
up until very, very recently, most of the spell books that I've seen are not helpful to me.
Yeah.
And are boring and really are like, this is how you should do this. Even correspondences, like for me, I even like to push way out of that. Even color correspondence.
I agree.
Like, we've talked about this a little too. Like, if, like, red is love, yellow is joy, blue is calm, green is money, black is protection, white is purity. Mm-hmm. Well, white is protective to you, right? In what you practice, not black. We wore this on purpose to demonstrate that we didn't, but different people have different associations and cultural correspondences with color.
So like if you're reading on the internet, that it's weird. Like it's one article that's like copy and pasted onto a million different websites. If you Google magical color correspondences, and if you're reading that article and you're like, but this color feels like this to me, not like that.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That is okay.
Do you? Because it will make your magic more potent.
Yes, exactly. And that's the basic concept of what I believe and teach people or advise people to do. Because of things like that, there are so many nuances in correspondence and it's confusing because definitely when I was younger, I was like, so snakes or whatever, like, so black is protection. Okay, black's always protection. All right. And
or even like 13 is unlucky.
Or 13, there's these superstitious qualities.
I think 13 is lucky
and
magical.
Yeah, or like black cats are evil. And those are also correspondences that have been learned. So even within like the pagan and witch and Wiccan white dominant communities that have been published and been around and been regurgitated, like that's the collective conscious of those communities, right? Really. Mm-hmm. And I'm very, very uninterested in that. And I'm much more interested in like, what colors was I drawn to growing up? Lavender. If you couldn't tell, I love purple. Purple's been there for me since just childhood for whatever reason. Maybe I'm still figuring it out. I don't know.
For me, it's always been red. Red and green. And those are like my brand colors now.
Yeah. See, that's also my brand color is like this lilac-y lavender. Like it's just...
I love that, like, for Third Eye Bind, it's, like, purple and green. Both. So it's, like, part of each of us.
I try not to brand everything purple. It's very hard for me.
It's hard. But it's a different shade.
But it is a different shade.
It's a different shade.
Totally different shade. Totally different vibe.
But even,
purple.
like, okay, the branding is a spell.
Yeah.
That helps people get into the mindset to receive from us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love that.
Our social media presence can be a spell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If, we want to enchant our audiences into wanting to receive from us.
I need to do a lot more of that because for me, I am spiritually burnt out on my brand a little bit. On not the brand, but the marketing shit show train because Instagram is, I think I'm shadow banned because I post about like people's rights and shit. I don't know.
How dare you?
How dare I? I don't know. Like I had to Google how to know if you're shadow banned. So if you're Googling if you're shadow banned, you probably are. Fun. But I'm burnt out on that aspect of owning a business. Yeah. And I think I am constantly trying to like maneuver myself into that. Like really, that's something I could be doing more is like channeling that spellcrafting into my posts and my, because right now I'm like 20% off, fuck off. I need to go sleep.
Yeah.
But just having that, it's like so exhausting to like mental gymnastics yourself into that.
Yeah.
But, whether that's your job, whether you have a job that you are, there's, Instagram just makes me grumpy.
It makes a lot of people tired. Yeah.
It's exhausting, but it's also exhausting from a consumer standpoint to just be told what your magic needs to look like and what you need to do. Because here's the thing. People will say anything to get attention now because it's hard to get attention.
Yeah.
People will start
lots of like shock
value, spiritual arguments, very polarized views. Like that's a marketing tactic.
Yeah.
It's not something I will ever be about, but it is.
I like literally wouldn't even know how.
I'm like, I don't like Caitlin. Like the color white sucks.
Check out the caption for more. And it's just like bait.
Or it's me just like petting the dove and then smacking it. And like, oh, part 2. It's just like, what?
What are you doing?
Why'd you hit the dove? But look at all the comments I just got.
Yeah, exactly.
You see, people are like that too. But yeah, it's hard. And so learning about your own intuition, instincts, how you feel, like going very in with it is what negates all that for me. And what I try to get people to do is to get off the internet, and it's hard. Or to just buff up that discernment, and to the point where like nothing can touch you. Like to just boundary the fuck out of your magic and trust the fuck out of your magic, to where like nothing can touch you.
Yeah.
In that way. And so it stays safe and comforting. That's what it kind of is for me. Keeps potent.
I do use one spell book.
That's
Bible.
cool.
I use the Book of Psalms. Well, I use a few different books, but most frequently the Book of Psalms. And a lot of folk Catholics and other folks, not just folk Catholics, like it's also very it's popular in like Black and brown spiritual communities to use the Bible
because of all the intermixed
because you know, for a lot of us, for our ancestors, conforming to whatever Christianity our oppressors used was a way to stay safe. And so our ancestors learned how to find like the mysticism and the magic
so fucking
in
badass.
These books.
That's so unbelievably powerful and cool.
And not only do you have magic from reciting from these books yourself, but every time you do it, you're also tapping into every single voice who used those words before you. And like, that's fucking magical to me. That is magical to me.
That is so fucking magical and connective, and talk about creativity and creatrix energy and God, just power.
Right?
To be able to create these new, like, to retain your ancestral spirituality while existing in that and making it such a cross promotional, that's not the word, cross like cultural, like powerful symbolic thing. Like that is some next level shit.
It's cool.
That I respect the hell out of those belief systems, like a lot.
It's really neat to think about. And I feel like, you know, it's necessary. There's a big call on social media. You see lots of stuff about like decolonization, which is great. Love it.
We like that.
Important. But also, like, there are certain things that can't and don't need to be decolonized. And that's kind of one of those things. Like, I think that like folk Catholicism and folk Christianity and magical practices that intertwine with that, spiritual practices that intertwine with them or that are syncretized to them, they don't need to be decolonized. Like, they're perfect the way they are.
They're like flowers that have grown through the cracks.
Exactly.
And we let those stay.
Yeah. I was looking,
That's
it's funny
special.
you said that. I was standing outside.
Are you going to talk about the gnome with the oregano?
No.
Okay.
But I was standing outside taking selfies in front of your purple wall because it's cute.
Why not?
And I looked down and I noticed there was, I think it's mint growing out of a crack.
It's oregano.
That's oregano.
By the gnome. I call him my oregano.
Your oregano. But
He grew a fucking oregano, Caitlin.
It's just growing out of a crack.
Yes.
In the cement.
I just fucking noticed that this morning.
It's magical. I don't think I've seen it before today.
I noticed it and I thought it was just weeds.
Yeah.
But the oregano, I have a gnome. The gnome is the one that grew it.
Yeah.
The gnome is a guardian for Mike's office and he's holding a little gnome.
Yeah.
I mean, he's holding a broom and he's a little witch gnome. Mm-hmm. And when it rained a bunch, that started growing behind him. I haven't moved him since that started growing. And then today, because I was fixing up the backyard and I went over to it and I was like, that looks like oregano. And I picked it and I smelled it and it's fucking oregano.
It's like big and bright. It's bright green.
Yeah.
It's really pretty.
And it's growing out of cement.
Mm-hmm. And just because it's not supposed to be there doesn't mean it's like wrong. And
so I'm not gonna
perfect the way it is.
That's not a weed to me.
Yeah.
That's something beautiful.
You don't need to pull it.
It's very. I think it's I'm pretty sure it's oregano. Something good.
I gotta go smell it.
Yeah, I'm like, can we just leave and come back?
I'll be right back. Gotta confirm.
You should take some home. Take some home and cook with it.
But yeah, there are some. I agree. Like most of the spell books that are published out there are meh.
What are some? Do you know some authors that I'm all? I only know one.
Do you know the Muffin Man? Why is it in my head? Oh, because I was watching Shrek with my kids earlier.
Yeah. Are there any that you recommend?
Yeah,
I get that question a lot.
Yes.
Do you recommend any books for beginners?
For beginners,
or in general.
In general. So a book that I recently picked up, pretty much anything that my mentor, Chiron Armand, has written is fucking awesome.
And the psychic self-defense, you always talk about that one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So anything by Chiron Armand is great. He does lots of stuff on folk magic. If you are a Black practitioner, he has lots of books on hoodoo. So there's stuff for everyone. Go support him. Also, what did you say? Psychic Self-Defense, which is shockingly written by like a European man, and that's okay. I like the turn of the century, but it's good shit. Yeah, it's good shit. It's not so much about spells, but it is a great place for like spiritual foundations of like protection, which is important when you find yourself casting, especially if you're calling upon spirits to assist you in your casting. Psychic Self-Defense is a really fucking cool read.
Yeah, I always remember that one. And yeah, there are really good books out there. Like our friend Juliet Diaz, friend of the podcast, is a best-selling author for a reason. And I really like her book, The Altar Within, because the same sort of sentiments that we're talking about here, she really echoes. Yeah. And knowing her personally, she really gives a shit about people. And
it's not really a spell book.
It's not. It's
and
more,
that's why it's good.
But that's why it's good. And, not all books are bad.
No.
But
I like books that like kind of coach you and guide you and encourage you to figuring out how to do it yourself. And that's like the vibe Juliet has.
That's the vibe Juliet has. That's the vibe that you have. That's the vibe that I have. That's the vibe that anyone I respect as a teacher has with their students. For me, that's important
because
to look out for.
Witchcraft itself is not a standardized practice.
And that's how it comes across in a lot of the Wiccan books. And they don't mention, there's other types of witchcraft. Yeah. Wiccan books don't fucking mention that. There's
like some general good sense you should have when you're doing magical things.
The Bible has that too.
And we all approach that good sense different ways. But like there's no strict standards and guidelines. There are no rules. There's no initiation. So I love when authors and teachers encourage you to figure out how to do it your way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's cool.
To figure out what colors and things work for you.
I would love if our viewers wrote in the comments like the spells they casted that made them feel the most powerful.
That, and also make your own 5 emoji spell in the comments.
Both, please. Can we have that?
Please. Just right
Please.
now, stop.
Pause.
This
Comment.
is an exercise. Pause.
We're quizzing you
Write
now.
down or text it to yourself,
No,
put it in your
put
notes.
it in the comments.
Put it in the comments. Wait, can they pause and then put in the comments?
Yeah,
Come back?
comment below.
Comment below or copy and paste it later. And do your own 5 emoji spell with how you're feeling right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Do it. Please.
Please. And if they're fucking awesome, maybe we'll read them on the show. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. If we had like a ticker tape that they would just
That would be so
that
cool
would be
on
really
the bottom.
cool. Yeah.
Of just the emoji
Mom, I
spells.
want to see your emoji spell.
We want to see your emoji spells, so please drop them in the comments below.
Yeah.
And tell us about a time when you were crafting when you felt the most powerful. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. Thank
wow.
you.
Thank you so much, Laura.
And thank you for listening to Third Eye Bind.
Be sure to leave us a message on the Third Eye line. We'll see you next week for our season finale.
Oh my God. Bye. Ooh, who's right? Thank you so much for listening. You can follow the podcast at Third Eye Bind Pod on Instagram. There, submit your questions via the Third Eye line by sending us a voice message or text DM. The show is available wherever you listen to podcasts and for you to watch on YouTube. Get early access to episodes and even monthly one-on-one sessions with us by joining our Patreon. Find us at patreon.com/thirdeyebind. Third Eye Bind is produced and edited by Mike Realm. Hosted by Caitlin Grania and Laura Wong. Music by Mike Realm. Set design by Laura Wong. You can find Laura on Instagram at Lady Moon Co. And you can find Caitlin at caitlin.grania.